Yes, 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 yes. All right, all right. Welcome. We good, Cameron?
We good.
Oh, excellent. You're listening to the Clarity Code. No fluff, just truth. But before we get clear on a couple of things, I just want to say that my name is Omar of OMZIEL.
I'm Cameron from ARMEW, and we are also broadcasting on onthewakeupradio.com.
Oh, big shout out to ontheradio.com and Cindy
Yup.
Ashby.
Yup. Big shout out to super producer Cindy Ashby, as always.
Yeah. Okay. Well, family, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. And I just want to get right into it. Cameron, I've got this thing, on me, and it's been weighing quite
Hmm.
a bit heavy, man. I just want to be able to release some of this, man. This is an excellent outlet. And I know that anything that happens to me, someone can benefit from some of these things, especially if I find a way how to come out of it, and
Right.
so I was in a meeting the other day, and there was a few people in the room, and we were just talking, and there's ideas, and I was also speaking some of my things, but you know this person that was in the room started speaking over me, and like I wanted to get my ideas out, and I knew that it came from a good place, and I knew that it was good, with good intentions and purity. But there that person was, just speaking over me, man. And then I felt it coming on, bro. It was like a knot in my throat. I started feeling like a bit of pressure here. And then my heart started beating fast. And then I felt my heart like move up right to my throat. I'm
Mm,
sure, I'm sure you felt this before. Like
right.
where you want to say something, but you just don't, man. Like, and then when it was my time to speak again, like I kind of simmered it down a little bit, and then I wanted to bring the fire, but I didn't, and I kind of I calmed that fire down. I put that fire out a bit more, and
Mm,
then after the meeting, when we left, I went back to the car, and I was heated, man. I closed the door, and I just started screaming, man, and I started pounding the steering wheel, man. And even still, I was afraid that someone would hear me speak my anger and my frustration
hmm.
out,
Right.
so I went home, man, and I was heated. So I went for a run, and there I am, running, and there's nobody around, at this area, and I'm just screaming out to God, like, why, So I released lots of anger, but then I went home, and then I took some deep breaths, brother, and I actually put my hands on my throat, and I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the times that I didn't allow you to speak, you know, when I silenced you instead of giving you the right and the power to speak your truth and stand in your power, you know. So
And
it
who were
was
you talking to?
talking to my throat, my being, because we my conscious, my pure conscious, because we're pure consciousness. Consciousness doesn't speak. It's the observer of what's going on. We have these tools for it, like the ego, or like the mechanics of our physical body, in our throat,
Right.
that we're able to speak these things, or not speak too, like whoever told us that we're not supposed to speak up, right? We get that
Right.
from when we're kids and stuff like that too.
Right.
you, you know
Right.
if let me tell you another quick story too, which I,
Mm-hmm.
I I placed this in the newsletter, and we have a very powerful newsletter with OMZIEL Healing Sanctuary. It comes out every week. I try to put it out every week, but this one here is where I opened up about what happened to me in the fourth grade, and I beat this other kid out for the role of Christopher Columbus, right? Yeah, yeah. I read for Christopher Columbus,
Uh-huh.
and he was dry. He was dry like some dirty old socks in the corner. But I
Mm,
bring flavor. I bring soul to it. I bring that energy that it belongs. And the kids laughed and everything, but the teacher was like, "You got it. You the one. You gonna be Christopher Columbus." So I practiced my lines while I was home and everything. And then on the day of the play, My parents were not there, by the way, for whatever reason. But when it came time for me to read my lines as Christopher Columbus, I froze.
Mm.
I froze. I couldn't put out the lines. I put out a few, I pushed them out, but that was it. So then the show went on. We went back to the classroom, and the teacher, she brought me out from the classroom into the hallway, and she berated me, bro.
Oh,
She belittled me right there, bro. She opened me up right there in the hallway, bro. Really? Yeah.
wait, what
Talking
grade
about
was this?
fourth grade, bro.
Oh man.
Okay. Talking about, how could I have ruined her, and embarrassed her.
Wait,
Yep.
was
It
this
was,
Broadway?
didn't it was,
Was this, you know, was
yeah.
this on 42nd?
Yeah. This was Lincoln Center,
This
man.
is Lincoln Center. Her whole career just
Yeah.
shot.
Yep, yep, yeah, yeah. And then the kids were looking at me, so it was that whole thing, right? Um,
They were
but
looking at you being berated.
no, we were in the hallway. She pulled me in the hallway. So the
Okay,
kids were in the room, but I mean, when the teacher pulls you to the hallway, it's
right,
not to tell you, you're a great guy, and here's all the smiley faces that we're gonna give you. You know,
right,
it was something wrong that I did, or that's what she was trying to convey to me. But I tell you this story because sometimes things, Cameron, we carry them as time goes by. Whatever those things are, there are a number of things. And sometimes we push them down. You know, and then they affect the way we express ourselves. It can be quite painful.
right. And thank you for sharing that. That's really both of those stories are really really vulnerable. I thank you for sharing those with us because there's so much to learn from that. Like even I can imagine that someone who's from a younger generation listening to this, like, what? Your fourth grade teacher did that to you? Like, yeah, like, we come from a different era. I'm
Mhm,
not sure what
mhm,
decade
mhm.
this was, but we, we come
Yeah.
from a different era where that was commonplace. You could find something like that. And coming from adults, coming from teachers, coming
Mhm,
from people who, as a child, you put your trust in this person,
mhm,
and so, and what they say is law. So
mhm,
when, for that to happen, for that to be said to a child, like what space was that teacher in that she could say that to a fourth grader
mhm,
and like nowadays that, we have the teachers who are more conscious, I would say, oh, the child froze
mhm,
up. Let's see what's
mhm,
going on with little Omar.
mhm,
Why did little
mhm.
Omar freeze up?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
everything
Yep.
okay, little Omar?
Mhm,
How you doing?
mhm.
What's going on? They probably would have done a big group hug or something like that. Everybody go hug
Mhm.
Columbus,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and even that, like the whole Columbus thing, like I don't know if they still do Columbus plays. I feel like elementary schools all did Christopher Columbus plays back in the day. I don't know if they still do them today. And
I don't know.
that's probably a whole other topic in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Because on the one hand, and, not to go too far into, but on the one hand, you learn about
Mhm,
Columbus, right? You learn, in
mhm,
1492 and all that good stuff,
mhm,
right? And then it's
mhm,
like you do hear about you. We learned about what he did to the First Nations here.
mhm,
He
mhm,
massacred
mhm,
them and all
mhm,
that stuff. But then it's like
mhm,
he's also held up as a hero. So I guess we
mhm.
like genocidal maniacs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and well, yeah, on the serious side, yeah, they
right,
do. They do, trust me, they do. But
right.
yeah, yeah, it's some of those things you wouldn't read in a school book, that's for sure.
Right. And so coming back around now to what you're saying, so even that right there, like
Mhm,
when do we, because as a child, because one of my friends and I, like, man, we were deep as children. Now that I think back, like he and I were deep as children. And we'd be like, Columbus killed all these people. It's like, why are we celebrating him? But we could
mhm,
never be like, excuse me, teacher. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So even
mhm,
that's
mhm,
speaking to the same thing, like speaking that
mhm.
truth, speaking like
Yeah.
when is it allowed as a
Mhm,
child? When do you learn the lesson as a child that you cannot speak?
mm.
right? And
mm.
manifest in so many
That's a
different
great
ways,
question. That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great one. If you think about it, like, yeah, when?
right? Because
Mm.
when you were being berated by your teacher, who did you go and tell?
Mm. Wow, bro, you're pushing me into different places, bro. You know,
You know, when we
I
spoke earlier this week, we said we didn't know.
yeah, yeah. You know, now that I think about it, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my parents. You know, my parents weren't there, which that in itself was quite painful, right? You know, you kind of take it as a kid, like, oh, they couldn't make it, you know, but then you get older, you're like, oh man, like they didn't make that one or the next 14 of them, you know, or something like that. You know, but I didn't speak to anyone about that. Only when I got older and you know, probably at the bar, you know, sipping on some Hennessy or something.
Right. I remember in fourth grade.
Yeah. Yeah, like anybody cared. Right. Yeah, my
Right,
man's like, yeah, whatever, man. Just buy another drink.
right,
Yeah.
right. You
So
know,
it
so
was more like that as I got older. And then I'm sorry to cut you off, but
nah,
with my family, you know, because I have kids now too, right? I have an older daughter that's 31, but you know, my 7 and 9 year old, I the first child was like I was part-time dad. You know, these kids, oh no, I'm full-time. So they get to see all sides of me. And that was one side too. You know, like once I see them in some areas, I open up right away in vulnerability and let them know, hey, look, this is what happened to me. You know,
mm,
even my wife was like, what? Oh, I didn't know. Yeah. You see,
right, right,
we hide it. We hide it. We stuff it down.
right. And I you know, I give thanks for the generation that we're in right now where we can have conversations like this. And you and I talk about it too, just as men in general, you know, like
Mhm.
now I think the world gets to hear
Mhm.
more how men feel and what men think.
Mhm.
They say
Mhm.
it's a man's world. It's like, okay, it's a man's. Is it really a man's world? I feel like it's like a certain men's world. You know what I mean? Because so
Mm.
much, especially if you're melanated, you know, you probably come from a home or an environment where the men's voice is stifled. You know what I'm saying? Like his emotional voice is a little
Mm.
bit stifled because nobody want to hear that. Nobody want to see you crying. Nobody want to see, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to
Right.
present yourself a certain way if you're
Mhm.
gonna be
Yeah.
respected
Mhm.
in this home, in this community.
Right. Right. I can definitely see that, you know, if you don't have, you know, the connections of complexion and these other type of things where people they benefit from that, well, they don't really have to speak up, do they? Really like not like us. Us,
Right,
we have to like command the room. Why?
right,
Because it's the way we look and history, the baggage that comes along with that. People judging us as soon as we walk in.
right. And being taught, I'll speak for myself, being taught from a young age that you were judged wherever you go.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
understood this from a child, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, sure, that's something that I carried and didn't speak on it necessarily or speak on how it made me feel. It
Mm.
was just a thing like, "This is what it is. This is what's, you know, you can expect becoming a man," you know what I mean? Like, I had
Mhm.
uncle you know, my father, uncles, cousins, all
Mm.
explaining to me their experiences just existing,
Mm.
you know?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
one uncle got, you know, beat up by the cops. He was taken to the back and beat up because he had dreadlocks. You know what I'm saying? Because they
Mm.
mind you,
Mm.
and this is an uncle. He didn't smoke. He didn't drink. He might have drank a little bit back then, but it's like he didn't
Mhm.
smoke weed. He wasn't really into anything. He just, you know,
Right. Right.
he
Right.
just
Right.
didn't fit didn't fit
Right.
the,
Right.
the
Yep.
complexion for protection.
Mhm.
You know?
Mm.
And you hear
Mm. Mm.
stories like that growing up.
Mhm.
And then it's like, so, you know, make sure you wear the right way and you speak properly and you know, all
Mhm.
these other
Mhm.
things that they
Mhm.
think are gonna protect you from whatever's out there,
Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yep. Right. Right. That's true. That's true. That's true.
But
Yeah. Well,
right, go ahead.
I was going to say that, you know, if we if you think about it really deeply, when it comes to our ancestors, right? It's no secret, but the colonizers had come over and done tons of atrocities. Before, maybe they were pushing people around, but it didn't last long, because then they were just taking people out altogether.
Right.
First they came with the sickness, and then they came with these rules. And there was a whole list of gods that they worshipped, and that went through generations. But when the colonizers came, they came with a set of rules and religions and gods. And if people did not pay attention, and if they didn't abide by the rules, you could find yourself burnt right in the middle of the village right there, man. They would be
Yeah.
quick to make an example of you. you
Hmm.
know so you would think, like, some of those things have been working for our ancestors for generations. It was
Right.
working just fine, whatever they were doing. And I'm not talking like blood sacrifices and not like that, but just
Right.
honoring the god, in many different shapes and form. But
Right.
then when the colonizers came with these rules and religions and all of these sets of traditions, you know people wouldn't tell their children about the old gods out of protection.
Right.
They wouldn't tell them that. They would tell them, don't speak. You see? So if you talk about Cameron, where did that come from?
You brought it
Okay.
all the way back.
Okay. You see?
Mm,
You see?
right.
Right?
Right.
Because it's,
Because
it's in the DNA. Go
yeah,
ahead.
because we're right. Because even the idea of gods, right? Many
Mhm,
different gods. The more I
mhm,
learn about how ancient peoples viewed this world, like I think we've said it before, everything was imbued with spirit, everything was imbued with life and intelligence.
mhm,
And so if
mhm,
they talk about the rain, they talk about it as an intelligence. If they talk about the forest, it's as an intelligence. And so and this is the way that they explained it, and this is how they learned to navigate this realm.
mhm,
And it went down into, today what we would call psychology. Did
mhm.
you ever see the movie Apocalypto?
Yes, I liked it very
That
much. Mhm.
one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And if you remember early on in the movie, they're hunting, having fun and everything. And then the
Mhm,
son, right?
mhm,
The chief's son, he sees these people walking by looking scared. Like,
mhm, mhm,
what are these people, and they didn't say anything. They're migrating, they're out of
mhm,
here. They're running away from something.
mhm,
The father's like,
mhm,
don't mention it. Don't mention it
mhm,
to anybody. And
mhm,
it's not that he didn't want to warn the village. The father, the way I look at it now, the father understood that something horrific was on its way. But he
mhm,
said, what you saw in those people's faces is fear.
mhm,
And he said, and because you saw it, you have now been infected by fear.
mm,
Right? That's what the father said to the son.
mm,
And that right there,
mm,
the idea of not speaking on
mm,
what he witnessed, and then not spreading that, because he knew that, like, how would the son explain that to, let's say the father was like, okay, go tell the people that I
right,
saw a whole bunch of people running from something. Like, these people didn't live in fear, they didn't experience fear.
right,
That wasn't part of their realm, that wasn't part of their, you know what I'm saying,
right,
their
right,
understanding of the world. So
right.
what would that be like? Like, maybe it was better the way that things went down, that they experienced the fear when it finally came to their doorstep,
Mm,
because their worldview didn't include that.
right, right. That's
And
powerful.
you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So what I'm
I
saying is,
do.
like, the difference in philosophy. You went back and
Right.
talked about the difference in philosophy. Like, we what happened now when, fast forward, Columbus and them came with a fear-based religion, and they backed it up with violence.
Right,
They said, you need to believe what we believe. Oh, you talking to the ancestors? We
right,
and burn him. You know what I'm saying? And burn his
right,
family, just to make an example of him. Because I
right.
don't think they get the message yet.
Right. Right. Right.
right? So it's just like you said, it goes
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
we're going back to
Yeah.
the DNA now. Like, when did it begin?
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Because we just think that it's just in our household, but your parents learned it from somewhere. Your aunts and uncles learned it from somewhere. They, and they're pushing it onto you. So it just keeps going back from generations to generations. That you know we live in a fear-based society. You already know.
Right,
It's all about fear. It's all about fear. I mean,
right,
you speak to those people, right? I mean, they're good people. We love them and everything. But hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. Yeah, but did you hear what happened in the news? No, I don't watch
right.
the news. Yeah, but what do you mean? What? Oh, with Iran and yeah, yeah,
No.
I don't, yeah, I don't, what happened? Because no, in fact, I don't want to know, so
Mm,
it's a bit of that fear thing, like we had spoken
right.
before. Is there something that we can do about it? Then I'm all for it, man. I go out of my way. I go the extra mile where some people don't. They
Thank
want to
you.
talk about it. Not me. I get up and I'll go. I'll support with money, with food, with energy, with time. I'll do it. I've done it, and I'll do it again. I'll continue. But if we're gonna sit here and talk about it, it's like I gotta relive that fear too. You're like pushing it
Thank you.
on me. No, I don't. I don't move like that, man. I don't do that.
And
But
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that too, because there's so much that's going on outside. I learned this especially in COVID, right? Like,
mhm,
all I know that exists and that is real is within these four walls, right?
mhm, mhm,
For all
mhm.
I know, even you over there, right? You could be a whole AI program.
Right.
But what
That's
I
right.
know is, okay, I'm in this room. I can't tell you. I can see out the window, so I know there's some trees right there, but I don't know what's going
Mhm,
on out there. I
mhm,
remember when that attack happened, I just caught wind of it early. I caught wind of it minutes after it happened, right? It was
mhm,
late night, and I was talking to I was actually I did a broadcast that night, and I was
mhm,
talking to brother John. Shout out to brother John,
mhm,
and said, John, I'm driving around. I was driving through Harlem. I was driving downtown to like Midtown. I said, all these people walking around right now have no clue that this is going on right now,
mhm,
that we could
mhm,
be in the beginning of some World War III,
mhm,
and they don't
mhm,
even know. They have no
mhm.
clue.
Right.
They're happy, they're
Right.
smiling, they're going to the club, you
Right.
know? So it's like, so to speak to what you said, it's like, how
Mhm.
much of this can we actually control? We can't control any of this stuff. As much
Right.
as I don't want war, there's
Mhm.
nothing that I can say or do to stop these folks over
Right.
there from throwing bombs at each
Mm.
other. So why am
Right.
I going to live in fear about what they're doing over there?
Yeah. Fear and worry, and
Right,
then in silence too. Like you have
right,
to hold it in instead of expressing yourself. Maybe you want to be happy. Maybe you want to laugh, but oh, don't do that now because you heard what's going on, right?
right.
But it's not going on right here. Come on. Right?
It's not. It's not,
Right?
and
Mhm.
we spoken on and off air about just vibrations in general. Like,
Mm, mm,
I need to maintain a certain vibration so that I can show up every day. I need to show up for people, you know what I mean?
right.
Clients, for my business, for my
Mhm,
partner,
mhm.
so for
Right,
my family.
right.
So how can I be living in fear, and how can I be
Mm,
living in sadness and all these different things when I need to
yeah,
show? How can I be bent out of shape by stuff that I have no control over?
right,
D-
right. Mhm, mm. I'm
I'm gonna
glad
say
that.
this. I'm gonna say
Alright,
this
go.
just
Mhm,
to put it into perspective.
mm,
I saw I saw this news report about 20 years ago. Blew my mind.
mm,
It said that there is a black hole out there that
mm,
is coming towards us, and it is consuming an Earth a second.
mm, mm, mm.
Fathom that. That's like a vacuum cleaner just moving through
Yeah,
the
yeah,
universe,
right,
and one
right,
day it's probably gonna get to us.
right,
Before that, whoever's listening, they didn't know that. Most people
right,
probably didn't know that.
right.
So am I gonna now live my life differently because there's a black hole? Like, what am I gonna? It's a black hole. There's no
Right, right.
escaping it.
There's no escaping it. Yeah, even look, even if they said, yeah, a meteorite is coming, it's gonna hit the earth and that, like, yeah, but it's not here right now. And besides, we
Gotcha, got
can't do anything about that. Is there anything you could do? You want to pray? Let's come on. I'm with
okay,
it. Let's get on
right.
our knees. Let's go.
Let's try that.
Let's go. Let's do
Right.
that. But
Mhm,
I'm glad that you touched on that vibration, right? Because
mhm,
what we're speaking about here is just about that. It's the frequency of the vibrating of the voice right here, of this, that little ceremony that I did, that sacredness when I held
mhm.
my throat, and I said, I'm sorry. I want to speak here to this, my voice. I'm sorry for silencing you, for keeping you down when I should have let you go, and I held you back, and just make peace with that. I think and I know that it is a wonderful practice, to get in touch with these things because the word is powerful. You know the old story, right? In the beginning was the word, and the word was
Right,
God, right?
right.
They're telling you that everything is vibration. Everything around you is moving at a certain frequency. And then when we speak these words, we're creating our environment. You see,
Mhm.
so if I didn't speak up at that time, right there was I created more of whatever that is right there. And people don't get to hear my story or my vision or stuff like that.
Right, right. Right, exactly. And I love how, the first story that you told,
Mhm.
again, one that you were extremely vulnerable in explaining what you went through just a few days ago. It's not like this was like 20 years ago. This was a few days ago, you know?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
very human,
Mhm.
very human. But
Mhm.
then were you able to alchemize the
Mhm.
emotions?
Mhm.
Are
Mhm.
you
Right.
still in that process of alchemize?
Mhm.
Because were you able to eventually get it out what you
Mhm.
wanted to say? Was that resolved, or are you still in the process?
No, resolve, because I think it's twofolds. It's always a work in progress. And then with the other thing is that, yeah, you just have to work with it and just put it out there, however, in any shape or form.
Mm,
You already know me. I'm looking for greatness. I am great. Everything around me is great, and the people that I surround myself with, I don't want to be with people who are just being average, right, or normal, or so called and stuff like that. I don't want that.
right.
That's why I push my body, I push my mind. I create these environments and these situations where I'm able to grow and share with other people. But what does that take? That takes effort, man. That takes power. That takes speech. That takes, right action, right thought, right action. It's that, and that comes, where does it come from? It comes from here, right? Because if we look at each other, you read my facial expressions because humans do that. But if I don't say something to you, man, if I don't say, let's go, let's do it, let's do the podcast, let's let's build, let's provide this thing for people, let's put something down. If I don't say those things, man, then it's just it's it's quelched again,
Right,
you
right.
know.
And so I'm glad you said that too, because throughout my life, I did a lot of not talking. I did a
Mhm,
lot of remaining silent. And so one thing you see, like for longest time, now I understand it better. For the
mhm,
longest time, I'm clearing my throat, or I have a sting in my
mhm,
throat, right? It still happens. And before shows, before any show that I do, I always start clearing my throat. I always
mhm,
start clearing my throat. But
mhm.
now that I look back on it, it's like, how much was I not saying? You
Mhm,
know?
mhm,
And
mhm,
so,
mhm,
and even now, there's a lot that I don't say, but when I now come on to the show, now that I
mhm,
have on the wake up radio, now that I have
mhm,
the clarity code and on the
mhm,
wake up, I
mhm.
speak a lot more. I'm able to use these as forums to say what I feel needs to be said.
Right,
And
right.
so for me, this is like therapy too,
Mhm, 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 mhm. For
because
sure. Yeah. Mhm,
again, I've spent so long in life
mhm,
not speaking on things, whether it's things dealing with myself, personal things, or whether it's things that I see that
mhm,
I'm like,
mhm,
nah, that ain't right. But who
mhm,
am I
mhm.
gonna say that to? That ain't right,
mm.
you know? And
Right.
it's
That's a
something
good
that
one.
it's right, and that's something that we spoke about earlier the other day, right? Like,
Mm, mm,
t we're living in a certain age right now, and speaking the truth when it is uncomfortable or inconvenient, you
mm,
know? What what does that look like? And is there a
mm,
time like because it's we hear, the Dr. Kings and the Malcolm X's and they
mm,
shaking their fists. I wasn't alive when they were around. They shaking their fists and
mm, mm,
telling us
mm,
about being a certain way. But it's like,
mm,
are we
mm,
supposed to be because it is really inconvenient to speak on certain things right now in
mhm, mm,
2025. Should we
mm,
remain silent to remain safe,
mm, mm,
right?
mm, mm, mm,
Or do people speak up and say what needs to be said right now?
I think there are platforms, where people are doing those things. Sometimes I question them too. I don't believe everything I hear,
Right,
and then you go, oh man, I love that show. They're giving, oh, that's the truth. And then time goes by, you go, what? They're working with who? Procter and
right,
Gamble and
right,
Monsanto. They're
right,
funded by Monsanto. Yeah, because that's the
right.
game they play. See, so
Thank you.
it's one of those things like you should be a little cautious. Don't go too far down the rabbit hole either, because I'm sure you've met people like that too. I have a good brother. He's much better now, but everything that came out of his voice was like, oh man, the political thing, and the police brutality and the wars, and you've seen the atrocities. I'm like, bro, like, don't you notice that all the conversations are like this? Like, I'm reading and I'm looking at the media and stuff like that, and all. But then he dug himself, you see, and then he got
Mhm.
away from that. He got away from it. He got away from
Right,
it, and then he realized himself. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm like beating myself up, because
right.
all I'm hurting is me."
And you
Mm,
see the self-realization, right? He had to
mm,
have that self-realization to pull himself out of that.
mm,
And
mm,
I feel that I was probably there at a point,
mm,
early
mhm,
on in my consciousness where
mm,
you're reading all these things and when I
mm,
woke up,
mm,
I woke up a little before 9/11. And then when
mm,
9/11 happened, I
mm,
just something ain't
mm.
right. Something ain't
Right.
right. So now I want to find out what's wrong and figure out, and so you're
Mm,
learning all these things and having these
mhm.
conversations, and then everybody's not ready for those conversations. And then, like
Right.
you said, like as I'm doing that, what am I doing to myself? What was my
Right.
vibration during that time?
Mhm, mhm,
Were these things enhancing my life?
mhm,
No.
mhm,
And so now, I'm still a seeker of knowledge. But
mhm,
again, my conversations are very different. My conversations now are more like what you and I are having. That's like
right.
my average conversation
Right,
where I
right,
can build with somebody and I feel good
right.
afterward.
Mhm,
Yes, I know
mhm,
about all the
mm,
crazy stuff and all the messed
right.
up stuff and
Mhm,
all those
mhm,
things.
mhm, mhm,
But it's like you said
mhm,
before, if we can't take action on it, then what are we doing?
mm. Right, right. Let's do something about it. But I was wondering if we could just take a pause for a moment. I
Mhm.
did not mention earlier when we started the broadcast that we have these different events that are going on with OMZIEL. We just had a one called the Purple Sage Festival. It's our big one, and it was our biggest. The Purple Sage Festival. It took place in New Paltz, New York, and at a huge venue. There was lots of music, live musicians, DJ, MC, Eli Costello. Shout out to brother Eli Costello,
Mm,
and lots of different artists too. I mean, too many to name right now. Um, but we do want to let people know that we're having these events. We'd love for you to come through. If you stay to the end of the broadcast right here, we'll help you out with any of the energetic exchange. That way we can lower those fees. We don't want money to stop people from representing and to being a part of what we do. But we're also having a men's retreat that's coming up on August 15, 16, and 17. It's at the
mm,
same location, the Stone Mountain Farm. They have over 250 acres of land. that's a lot of land. You could hike on their land alone. The other day I went with the kids to the Bronx Zoo, and
Mm.
they have 250 acres of land.
Oh,
And
wow.
man, I didn't even see everything there, all the animals. Like, it's a lot of land there,
I didn't
bro.
realize it was that big.
Yeah, me either. Me either. So just to give you a perspective of the amount of space that we're working with there, they have waterfalls, they have different lakes, and the place is just beautiful, stunning. The mountains that are there, the rocks, the trees, they're just majestic, man. It's a magical place, and it's sacred ground as well, as you already know. We already um we always honor our ancestors, the Lenni Lenape, which were
Mm.
one of the tribes that we're here. We're occupying their
Right.
land. Yeah,
Right.
this is theirs. So yeah, stick around to the end. But getting back, brother, I did want to
Yeah.
mention that people are not ready to hear things too, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned from some of the masters that they say, don't argue with nobody, don't argue with no one. No, you're wasting energy. You're wasting that vibration right there, where you could use for better things. If
Right.
you have some realization, that's it. And if you speak your truth, and if they come up against you, yeah, don't fight with them. No, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where brothers come and kill one another. Why? For something that somebody said? Like, where they read it and they repeat it, and then somebody will read something and then they repeat it, and now, yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild.
It
It's
is wild. And I'm glad you even brought that up right there, because it's important for people. If like, why argue? What's the
Mhm,
purpose of it?
mhm, mhm,
There is
mhm.
no purpose to it.
There's no purpose. There's no
Just
purpose.
it gets me. You know what blows my mind is people arguing over politics.
Mhm, mhm.
Because the way I see it, all these politicians are all on the same team, and
Yeah. Look, man, I'm glad you brought this up, bro, because I feel that people listening should realize that politicians, bro, they're straight killers.
oh
Okay. So
yeah.
any guy that you like or any woman that you like, they're murderers, bro. I'm just
Mm,
saying, like,
mm.
let's keep it real. Let's keep
Keep
it
it real.
real. And yeah, somebody out there might be saying, yeah, but they have to learn. Listen, most people, just like in this country and in other countries, they just want to be left alone. They want to go to the store and buy some eggs and get some milk and bring it home to their
Right.
family. There's a few
Right.
out there that they're talking all that stuff, but the rest, they really just want to be at peace. So I think our words, we should be careful.
Yeah. Imagine putting some of these politicians into a setting with regular people where they
Mm,
don't have power or control or
mm,
anything, and how would they relate with people?
mm,
You
mm,
bet. What's
mm.
wrong with that one? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
whose
yeah.
man's is this?
Right, right, right.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It can
Because
be. Mhm,
like you
mhm,
said,
mm,
they're killers. And for the
mm,
most part, my observation, it seems like they look at us like pests. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm.
how dare
Yeah.
you question my authority? How dare you
Yeah. Yeah.
question? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, have
It's
you
been
ever met
proven.
somebody or interacted with somebody who just had a nasty disposition, a nasty personality, didn't know how
Yeah.
to talk to people, didn't know how to treat people,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that person can act that way
Mm,
because whatever, some inflated sense of self, whatever it is. But that
mhm,
person in real life can't interact with an average, a regular group of people,
mhm.
and think that they're going to make it from point A to point B without a
Right.
conflict.
Yeah, I do think that we take things for granted, especially like some of the things that we speak and the ideas and how we treat each other.
Mm,
I think in part it comes along with like free will, right? Because me and you, we could say
right,
all kind of things right here, bro, but and no God is gonna come out from the sky and stop us from saying things and pushing
right.
people to do things. So like when you speak of leaders, so-called leaders, right? They lots of them, they never hurt nobody or killed anybody, bro. Never, nothing of like that, bro. Right?
Mm,
But they send hundreds, if not thousands, of people to go do things.
right.
You see, so think about that, like the power of the words. The vibration that comes
Mm,
out. When you think of a guy like Hitler, he probably never killed a roach, what I
right.
say, but he sent people to do things, and leaders are like that. World leaders, they
Yes.
can be. They're not all like that. Okay, I get it. But, they can be just by
They
the words that they speak. That's it. Just by the things they say. Wow.
and they do that, and that I'm glad you even use those examples, right? Because I won't go too deep into it, but
Mm,
Major General Smedley Butler talked about how to take the profit out of war. He was like, if there's going to be a war, first off, conscript the whole population. That means the populate. That means the
mm,
politicians that are voting for the war,
mm,
everybody, the manufacturers who are manufacturing weapons and all that, like the
mm.
CEOs of all those companies, let
Right.
them earn what the lowest paid wage of the lowest paid grunt or frontline, you
Mm,
know,
mm.
oh nothing, nothing soldier
Right.
is getting on the front line.
Right.
What's the lowest paid infantryman getting? Make that their salary.
Mm,
If y'all want to
mm.
go to war,
Right.
all right, none of these absorbent profits. Y'all politicians, everybody's getting paid,
Right.
but the least, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? That
Yep.
first off,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And then let the men, the young men, and now the young women that would be going to war, let them vote on if
Mhm.
they should be able to go to war, if they're gonna go to war.
Mm.
Y'all want to go fight? Y'all want to go into these trenches? Y'all want to lay in this mud?
Mhm.
Y'all want to
Mhm.
go trek through this cold?
Right.
Vote on it,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Mhm.
Because
Mhm. Mhm.
again, using those words, like they can say a lot, people can say a lot of things
Mm.
to manipulate thousands of young men and women to go face some carnage, but they're not gonna go, their children aren't gonna go, their
Right.
family members aren't gonna. If
Right.
if this country were struck right now, all those
Mm.
people talking that jive would
Mhm.
be whisked away to bunkers while the rest of
Right.
us have to deal with
Yep.
the
That's right.
right, the
Yep.
repercussions of it.
Yep.
Talk all that shit
Yep.
you want.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
You're not
Yep.
gonna be up here with us. You're gonna be someplace safe. They
Right.
know this.
Right. Yep. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. That's why they move like that, for sure. For
Right.
sure. I think it would benefit us a great deal to be mindful more of some of these things, like
Mhm.
the words, like the origins of these things. Where did they come from? How did we get to speak, right? Because in some of my studies, I learned that our language is a bunch of like vowels, and then with a few air pressures, right? Like
Mm.
like that. Those are air pressures, and we put those things together, and we communicate with one another, right? But then but then as humans started evolving, according to what I've learned, don't take my word for it, right? But humans started to learn how to deceive one another, right? You see?
Ooh.
Right. So check this out.
Mhm.
They did a study with monkeys, with primates, where um they were showing the monkey, like, the reward, if he did something, right? But every time he did something, the scientists would move the reward where he didn't see it, but it was so obvious, bro. It was so obvious that we would be like, come on, man, you can't see that. No, he can't see that. Why? Because humans have evolved over time, that we're masters at deceiving people, bro. We deceive each other like we're masters at that. See, primates don't
Mm.
have that. They don't, other primates don't have that. No, they don't do that. They don't lie to one another and deceive another like that.
Right.
No, there's wars that go on. You know that.
Right.
There's
They have it.
hierarchy
Right.
too. They
All
got
that.
that. They got all that. But it's that deceiving part that they don't have, bro. They just don't know. They right?
You
I don't want to
you
say ignorant, because not ignorant. It's
it's
just
not ignorant. It's not in them
no, no. It's just
because
not in them. That's it.
because you see, I think, I don't know if we spoke about it on this show, but
Mm,
there's videos or there's accounts of like it was like a gazelle, a leopard
mm, mm,
raised a baby gazelle.
mm,
Why
mm.
it didn't need it, I don't know. But the
Mm.
gazelle was an orphan, and it raised it, and they were friends
Right,
and they were family and
right,
all that stuff.
right,
And I'm
right.
sure when the leopard went to eat, said, "Okay, I'm gonna go get a snack.
Yep.
I'll see
Right.
you later tonight."
Yeah.
The
Right.
gazelle knows what it's eating. It can smell his
Right.
breath when it comes back. But at
Right.
no point did that leopard say, "I'm gonna wait till you go to sleep, and then
Right.
you're gonna be
Yeah.
my midnight snack."
You see? You
There,
see?
there was no deception. It was
Right.
is what it is. You're gonna eat me or you're not gonna eat me, but we're not gonna be friends for a few months so that you can fatten me up and then eat me. That
Right.
didn't happen.
Right. And then if you notice, they're not sitting around the campfire talking, or they don't go like take a walk, stroll,
Right,
holding hands, talking, right? There's not, you see? You don't
right,
see them, they're communicating now. They are, but not like us. We feel that we're so sophisticated because we're able to, fashion these words together and speak.
right.
But whenever you've seen aliens, right, when they
Mhm.
come from different star sectors and these type of things, when you show them, you see them, they don't speak.
They
If
don't.
anything, when you see alien abductions, I mean, and come on, they can't all be lying, bro. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, yeah,
Somebody's telling the
somebody,
truth.
come on, bro. Somebody,
Even if
at least
even if it's
one,
1%, okay? Even if it's
even if it's
1%.
1%, they say some common things that
Yeah.
those beings didn't speak, but they heard them.
Right. They
You see?
communicated with their mind.
Yeah. So in my opinion, this thing, this voice that we have, like it's old. It's primitive. It's
Mm,
primitive. It's primitive. We
right.
have not yet evolved to that point where we could just don't have to say any words and we would be speaking with one another.
Well, here's a thought. What if we de-evolved a little bit in
Mm,
order to
yeah.
talk and chatter,
Mm,
right?
I'm glad
Because
that you
I
said
hear
that.
so many accounts of how ancient people didn't really use words. Like, look at the Kemetic language, the ancient Egyptian language, right? They didn't
Mm,
even have vowels in there. It was just a whole bunch of
mm,
consonants put together. So, like, Ra could be Ra, Ray, Ru. Like, do
right.
we know
Mm,
what it is? You know what I mean?
right.
No, we don't
Mm,
know exactly what the words like. I had
mm,
There's
right.
this one brother. Shout out to Asar Imhotep. He's a
Mm,
linguist and he studied all these different African languages, and even a word like ma'at. Like
mm,
if you ma'at might not even be pronounced ma'at. It might be
mm,
I can't even remember how he said it, but it sounded
mm,
nothing like
right.
MAAT.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we have an
Mm,
idea of how these people spoke, but we don't really
mm.
know how they
We
spoke
don't
because we
know.
don't have
Nope.
the context.
Right.
But it's like
Mm.
the way they wrote was just consonants. There was no vowels in there. So
Mm.
to me, you see what you just did? That right there. Like,
Right.
what about
Right.
the first time you saw fire?
Right. Mm.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
See what I'm
Yep.
saying?
That was deep. Deep.
Right,
I love it. I love it.
right,
I love it. I love it. It also makes me think of Thoth,
mm,
right? He was
right,
the scribe. You see, he was the scribe. He's the one who bring knowledge to
right,
people. And they say he was the scribe. He was the right, the Nubis, the animal, that's the figure that they see him as,
right.
but
Bird.
he came with the words. He was teaching humans too,
Right,
and writing things down, bringing messages and things of that nature. They give him credit for lots of things, all the stuff that we do, different agriculture, and it goes on and on,
right.
but
They funny because I came across the story of the Tower of Babel the other day. It just made me
okay.
think, like, what if before that humans were not speaking words like the way that we're speaking? What if that's a metaphor for a time when all of a sudden now we're speaking words? Because, like,
Mhm,
listen, we speak words and people say a lot of nonsense with their
mhm,
mouths all the
mhm,
time. Like, this is stuff that comes out of people's mouths. I'm not judging anybody. Sure,
mhm,
I do it too, but there's just things that
mhm,
come out that are unnecessary. Like if we're
mhm,
trying to express ideas or you know what I'm saying, feelings and like we don't need all these words, but there's just a lot of nonsense. Like
mhm.
humans say a lot of nonsense, bro.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
Like what are we
So,
doing?
yeah, sometimes it's just better to be quiet. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Sometimes I feel that I talk too much too.
Mm,
and then I try to check myself and just try to stay silent, for a
mm,
bit also, because I'm like, I'm talking too much, it's not necessary. What am I saying here?
mm.
I'm not really saying anything. Why? Because I like the sound of my voice, or something like
Right,
that. No.
right,
If I'm leading, then that's different, then yes, I want to step into that power of my voice, my vibration. I want it to
right.
come from here. I want to respect that and lead properly too. But I feel that we should, be conscious of some of the things that are connected with our throat and our voice, like for instance, what about the foods that we eat?
Ooh,
You see, the foods, where does it go? We don't put it in our ear or in under our armpit. It goes right here, bro. The
right.
first thing that it goes is in your throat, the foods that you eat. You
Mm,
see? So we should be a little conscious of that. The beverages that you bring in, we absorbing things from our skin. It's true, because our skin is the largest organ that we have. But
mhm.
anything that we take into our system, bro, it comes right here. We're
Right,
breathing too, but energy, food, liquids,
right.
things of that nature. We should be, try to be conscious about some of the foods we eat. You see people, they eat garbage, and then when they talk, what the fuck is this?
Garbage
Like, bro,
comes
your
flying
garbage
out.
come right out. You see?
Right. That's
You see?
that's
Let's,
real.
yeah, let's
That's
think
real.
about that.
It,
Mhm.
you know, it's funny because it was my uncle. It was actually my father's uncle who the first he told me I was a teenager. He said you are what you eat because at that
Mm,
because he was Muslim, didn't eat pork and all this other stuff. He told me that,
mhm,
right? And
mhm,
so
mhm,
then he brought me on a journey. He told me that, and I don't know how far apart these incidents were because this was in a 3 week time period, right? This was early on. He said, "Oh, you are what you eat. You got to watch what you
mhm,
put in your mouth because that's what's composing your body, right?"
mhm,
But then one day we were driving. This is in Bermuda. We
mhm,
were driving, and we went to. He stopped on the side of the road. He was out in the country,
mhm,
and walked up this hill and we walked in and and I, we went to this, it was a farm, and we went to
mhm,
the stall with the pigs, and I don't remember him saying anything at this point, just had me follow him, and we're just
mhm,
standing there, and I'm
mhm,
watching these pigs eat all kind of nastiness. This one pig did big fat slobs, and this one pig was just chewing on a tin can. It was eating a tin can, bro, like a soup can,
mm,
like a
mm,
Campbell soup can. It was eating it. And he didn't say anything. I don't remember him saying anything to me. But then the lesson was coming in. Oh, you are what you eat. So if I'm
mm,
eating this particular animal, if I go and eat this right here, I go eat it because I love bacon at that point in my life.
mhm,
If I go
mhm,
and eat a piece of bacon from this sucker right here, I'm eating this
mhm,
tin can.
mm.
Talk about
Mm.
teaching a lesson without using words, brother.
Wow.
He said what he
Wow.
had to say, and then he was
Mm.
silent after that.
Mm. That's powerful. That's powerful. Lesson well learned right there, man.
Right.
We need more of that. Yeah. It's one of those things, it's something that, as a listener to this show, you would be more aware of that in your day. As you move through this realm, you'll see that people who eat garbage usually talk garbage too. You know,
I'm gonna
it's
pay attention to that.
Yep, it's the high vibrational frequency. Once your vibration shifts, even your words, right? Because I'm sure yourself, just like myself, we don't speak the way we used to speak.
Right.
We just don't. Why? Because our vibration has changed. We're taking in different foods, you see, and then
Right.
we're saying different things. We're taking in knowledge too here through the eyes, right?
Mhm.
And we're retaining this information that's coming in, and then we regurgitate lots of this information too, but we're taking in knowledge, higher consciousness knowledge. That way we can be able to share with other people who are on the same frequency. And we spoke about that on the last show, which
Right.
was powerful. I've been going around telling people that too, like how we notice people because we're on that frequency now. When we're not, we don't even see them. They could walk right by us and bumped
Right.
into us too, and we didn't even see.
Right.
But it's that vibration that we're on. So we consume different foods now, and our speech is different. We hang around with people who are on that same frequency where we can share the vibration. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's different, it's I was listening to this interview the last couple of days. It was I can't remember. It's like the African Spirituality Network or something. It's a dope
Mm,
podcast though. I
mm,
recommend everybody check it out.
mm, mm,
But in it, you had an elder who practices Ifa. The host practices Ifa too. And the elder was explaining, he said that as we come into this realm,
mm,
there's this whole thing, this argument about having a so-called Jesus complex, right? Like you can't save everybody. That's cool, right? But he
mm,
put it into perspective
mm,
that I hadn't heard. He said that from his teachings, what he's learned is that everybody is supposed to come here and at the very least plant the seed for two people so that you can dynamically shift their life,
mm,
or at
mm,
least two
mm,
people.
mm,
And it's like, oh, okay, well, when you put it like that, right?
mm, mm, mm,
Now it makes more sense because we're not supposed to so-called save everybody. It's not about saving, so-called
mm,
saving everybody. But
mm,
what happens now when you can say the right thing at the right time to the right person, and that's going to help them to shift
mm.
their life in a positive path? Well, then you're
Right.
doing your work. You're doing quote unquote God's work
The
on this
seeds,
earth.
sowing the
Right.
seeds.
Right. Sowing those
Right.
seeds.
I
It
love that. I love that. I love
shifts
that.
things, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Africa, yeah, it's no joke, and people should pay attention to lots of these things because humans are from there. But there was another one I was learning too about Papa Legba. Papa Legba is from
Uh,
Africa too, from the West African Voodoo, and it's diasporic. I'm reading this now.
mhm.
Diasporic derivatives. Uh, one second. He usually appears as an old man on a crutch or with a cane, wearing a broad brimmed straw hat and smoking a pipe or drinking dark rum.
Mm.
The dog is sacred to him. Legba is uh, syncretized with Saint Peter and Saint Lazarus and Saint Anthony. Like they're comparing him
Yeah,
to
yeah.
those two because gods don't die.
Right,
You know that gods don't die. No, no, they just change forms.
right.
That's it. That's it. They don't. They don't. But I brought up Papa Legba because he comes from Africa, right? And from the Caribbeans in Africa, right? The same. And he was the person who bring like speech and communication and understanding. You
Mm,
see, so
okay.
these are some of the stories that come out, and people say, "Oh, well, those are just myths." I don't like to call it that because people lived and died believing those things, that it was just like that.
Right,
And I also believe, Cameron, that there's truth in all stories, bro. No matter how
right,
crazy or bizarre it sounds, you know. Like you hear them now, and people be like, "Man, come on, bro, that's crazy." Like, yeah, well,
right. Is it crazy though?
yeah, yeah.
You,
You don't
so
know.
even with what you're talking about, the this book right here, the Conversations with Ogutameli. This is
Mm,
about the Dogon, and I'm seeing because it's just even going to what you're talking about. There's a
mm,
lot of legends that came, so-called myths,
mhm,
that the
mhm,
Dogon talk about. But when they talk about reality and their understanding of reality, they they talk about the first word, the second word, the third word, and what it means. And there was a certain point where you had basically eight original ancestors, right? And but
mhm,
they
mhm,
weren't just people, they were organizing forces. They were the forces that organized this reality. And one of these, and that's who these guys are behind us. You know, these are Dogon, and they're wearing their masks. These are men wearing masks, and
Mm,
these masks represent aspects of creation.
mm,
Now, when one of these ancestors basically was coming down to this realm, it wasn't just coming to Earth, he was coming down into this realm. He was holding, like, I think he was holding an anvil and a hammer or something like that, and his arms were like snakes, like snakes. You know what I'm saying? They were
mm,
no elbows or nothing like that. But
mm,
the
mm,
as he's coming into third dimension reality, and the weight of the anvil and the hammer bent, and now he's got elbows. You know what I'm saying? They say that's why we have elbows now. So, what creative process is you following me, right?
mhm,
What creative process is happening that this individual goes from something that looked like that to something that looks more like us? Are y'all
mhm,
just describing a myth,
mhm,
or are you
mhm, mhm,
describing something a little
mhm,
more scientific that modern
mhm,
people call a myth? And that's
mhm,
just like you said,
mhm.
that's why I don't just call things myths, or myth. I've expanded what I call a myth,
Right,
because
right,
the Columbus chopper was not Columbus. Was it George Washington chopped down the cherry tree? Like, that's a
right,
myth that
right.
happened.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a myth, bro. Yeah. Um, brother, I wanted to take a moment here to speak on a sister that has left um some information here. Now she goes by the name of reflective underscore transcendence.
Oh,
She's a
okay, okay.
you do you know her? She's a powerful sister, man. I
Yes,
know
yes.
she's also working with the podcast too, and she was pointing out about my mention of Papa Legba,
Mm-hmm.
and he's represented by the colors black and red, and
Oh,
he's to be contacted before speaking to God. You
okay.
see, you see? So there goes the communication parting of it, like so. Thank you, sister, for
Thank,
pointing that out, man.
thank you, sister. And that
Mm-mm,
again, because you brought up Tehuti earlier, and that
mm-mm,
even sounds like Tehuti a little bit. I'm not sure if there's a correspondence between the two. But then
mm-mm,
even that black and red, those were the original colors of the Haitian flag, or the
mm,
Haitian revolution, was black and red, and those have their own meaning when it came to that. I'm not
mm.
gonna speak on it because I don't know, but I know
Right,
that those were original colors for IET,
right,
and they
right.
serve purpose in moving the collective conscious of the people and moving them forward to win that revolution against the French. And
Mm,
mind you, they beat out the French, the British, and the
right.
Spanish, the
Yeah.
greatest empires at the time. They spanked all of them.
Yeah, yeah, that's why they're not gonna let them rise. Yeah, I
Nah,
know. Yeah.
nah,
No,
they're
they're not
still
gonna
mad about.
let
They're
that.
still
They're still
angry
mad
about
about it. Yeah, they're still angry. Yeah. But yes, that's quite powerful. All of these different gods in different sections of our realm here, they have these stories, or legends, or how things went down about communication and speaking, and the importance, and who brought it to them,
it.
and
Right,
stuff like that.
right,
Like you think of Prometheus, right? He brought fire,
right.
but maybe that's what it is. It's my speech is the fire. This is where I
Mm,
bring the fire. It's right here. Because I could feel it, right? Brother Camera, I could feel it in
yeah,
my stomach. I could feel it in my pit. I could feel it in my dentition. I could feel it, in my
right.
heart and stuff like that. But it's only when it comes out from here, when I express it,
Mm.
you know.
Right.
So,
And I'm glad you, even that Prometheus, like the Dogon have a myth that's similar to Prometheus, where someone had to go, oh, I found oh, I'll just read this paragraph. This is on page 42 of Conversations from Ogadameli, right?
mm,
All was now ready for departure, except that there was no fire in the smithy. Smithy is where like the blacksmith
mm.
is
Okay,
burning, is
okay.
the fire for the blacksmith so that
The
he can now
smithy.
smelt it, right? The smithy. The ancestors slipped into the workshop of the great Numo, who are heaven smiths, and the Numo are water. That's another thing that you learn in this book, that the Numo, what we call the Nomo, the Numo, they are the same thing as waters. What exactly are the Numo? We think they're just aliens,
Mm.
but they have everything to do with water, with H2O, with hydrogen and oxygen, right?
Oh,
So the ancestors slipped into the workshop of the great Numo, who are heaven smiths, and stole a piece of the sun in the form of live embers and white hot iron. He
mm,
seized it by means of a robber's stick, the crook of which ended in a slit, open like a mouth. He dropped some of the embers, came back to pick them up, and fled towards the granary. But his agitations were such that he could no longer find the entrances. He made the round of it several times before he found the steps and climbed to the flat roof, where he hid the stolen goods in one of the skins of the bellows,
mm,
exclaiming Goyu, which is to say stolen. The word is
mm,
still part of the language and means granary. Granary. It is a reminder that without the fire of the smithy and the iron of hoes, there would be no crops to store.
mm, 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 mm,
And this story, it's so deep, but it's like, again, it's just telling us about creation. Giving us, it's
mhm,
personifying aspects of creation,
mhm, mhm.
keeping in mind that spirit, that everything is imbued with spirit, everything is
Right.
imbued with consciousness.
Right, right, for sure. I know that the indigenous people of the land too, you know,
Mhm.
they did and still do feel that everything has life, everything. But this is the crazy part, and we spoke about this too, about how science now is catching up to what the ancestors were
Yeah.
telling you all
Yeah.
this time.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. They've been telling you all this time that everything is vibrating. It has life. Like there's worlds within worlds. Like it just
Right.
goes on. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what's tripping modern science out right now is quantum mechanics.
Mm, mm,
Quantum
mm,
mechanics and quantum biology, because now they can't escape the fact that the medium or the substance of our reality is consciousness. They can't
mm,
escape that. And they're
mm.
having a really tough time with
Right, right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's quite yeah, it's quite challenging to wrap our heads around some of these things, but we do need to look at them, and we do need to see, where does it lead to. It's not for
Mhm.
confusion, it's more for clarity. That way you could
Right,
see, because people say, man, you don't need, there's only one book, just read that book, and that's the only book.
right.
Come on, brother, sister, but no, let's get clear on some of these things. That's what the clarity code is about.
Right, and even with that one book, imagine you go in that one book and don't know how it's to be interpreted. Is it to be interpreted literally,
Right.
or are we gonna do the allegories and the metaphors,
Yeah. I,
right?
I I think that's one of the reasons why different books do exist. Yeah.
Right,
Is because there's no one book. It doesn't work like that. It's not like that, but yet they're all saying the same thing. But
right,
maybe it speaks to you in a different way, and maybe it touches you that way, you
right.
know? Yeah. So you I did want to bring up like the Kabbalion.
Ooh, okay.
The Kabbalion, they say that this is one of the most important books on planet Earth, bro. It's like
Mhm.
there's a
Right,
few of them, and even some that you'd be surprised that didn't make the list. I want to
right,
say,
right. Right.
because people be like, I'm out, right?
Mhm.
I'm just saying. But the Kabbalion was, they say, was written by the three initiates, right?
Oh, of Tehuti, right?
Yeah, so they say they don't really know who exactly wrote those things, but there's universal truths in there. Lots of those writings that are in there, you find them in other books that were written, scriptures much later, as above, so below, and those
Yep.
type of things. You reap what you sow, and it's all of that.
Yeah.
But
Eh,
here's somebody with these thoughts, and they put it down. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, great. No, 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 because it's I was actually listening to the audiobook of the
Mm,
Kabbalion, and
mm,
as I'm listening to it, it helped me to connect Kemet to so many different other cultures because
mm,
it's they're talking about the internal cultivation. In it basically in the Bible, you see in the New Testament, it says the kingdom of God is within,
mhm.
right?
Right.
And that's what, to me, that's what this is all about. Letting you
Mm,
know that this
mm,
technology that is your body is accessible by you, and like your journey just begins when you start to go in. Like when people start to go into their body, that's the beginning of the journey. People
mm,
don't we don't even know everything that we're gonna find inside of there. And I think that's what it's all about. Because as I'm, studying my qigong, like as I practice qigong, but then I
mm,
also have to study to go deeper into the practice. And it's
mm.
like, oh, this is what they're talking about in Kemet. Oh, this is what they're talking about in over here. This the
Right.
same
Yep.
thing, bro.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
the
I know.
same thing.
I know, and it's it's one of those things. Like, how do you express that to somebody and tell them? I just tell them
Right.
like, man, study, man, read around stuff like that. That's why I am a self-aware man. I know who I am and where I stand. Sure, I have days that are better than others, and I go through things in my relationships and all that. But I know who I am. How did I get like that? In a good part by reading books and learning about the origins of some of these things and where they come. It doesn't matter how I look or the size of my nose and my hair and all
Mm,
those things. That's outside. That's out. That's out. Everything out. That's just the manifestation of my Ferrari that I'm sitting in. You
right,
know what
right.
I'm saying? You see, but the deepness inside, yeah. Just go back, go farther, go back. You'll get to see that, yes, ancient Kemet. Oh, come on, man. They'll tell you it's all there, right? Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
know the Kabbalion, the Kabbalion. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kabbalion, yeah, because it's about the development of the individual, to the development of the soul, and like how we navigate this realm at that point. Because
Mhm,
to me,
mhm, mhm,
it's never just about attaining, what people might call enlightenment. It's about what
mhm.
type of person are you as you navigate this realm. That to me, that like again, the journey to get to that is one thing. Once you reach whatever that is, now what are you doing with it? What type of impact are you having on people around you? People
Right,
familiar and unfamiliar people.
right, right. That's true. And then the word that you speak, you know, you already know that some of these things are low vibration. You think about
Right.
gossip, idle chatter, lies, exaggerating, you know, harsh attacks on other people and these words and stuff like that. That's why
Right.
I
Right.
try, brother. I try very hard. That has to do with me being aware of who I am, bro. Right? Be careful
Hmm.
what you say. Your words have power and they hurt people, right? So that's why
Right.
when I talk about another brother, like I try to be careful. I don't want to gossip. I don't nah, man. I don't know. I'm not doing that.
Right.
It's low. The vibration's low. I don't know what he's going through. Come on, man. I'm judging him by what he did. Hey, maybe I didn't appreciate what he said, and maybe me and you could talk about it and flesh it out, and then I could express
Right.
myself, and then I'll tell you,
Right.
brother Cameron, this is I'm feeling like this probably because of this, man. Like it's me. It's me. It's me. I don't wish the brother no bad and all that. I mean, I could tough talk. I tough, sometimes I
Right.
talk because I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from the streets. So I'll start
Right.
talking. I get on it. I get on it real tough like that. But it's empty, bro. I don't mean no harm by it. It's just tough talk. I would
Mm.
talk to you like I wouldn't speak with someone else. Like we have this type of, you know,
Right.
rapport and
Right.
stuff like that. You know where I'm from and we're cut from the same cloth and those type of things. But
Right.
you know me, like that. I'm real, I'm for real. I want to keep it for real. Like people say, keep it real. Yeah, keep it real, man. Watch what you say to people, bro.
Right. Right, right. And this kind of goes into something to some other things that we were talking about too, right? Because
Yeah.
that because what you're talking about is speaking your truth, right? If you
Yes.
feel a certain way, somebody did something or moved a certain way, you say, you know what, I didn't like that, hey, brother can't, I didn't
Mhm.
like how this brother did that or that happened. Again, that's not gossiping. That's you letting it be known you don't like a
Mhm.
certain thing that was done,
Mhm. Mhm.
and expressing
Mhm.
yourself. Because
Right.
before we were talking about, let me go back, right? Because shout out to Mama Baina Bello, the Aishan, our historian, not historian, our historian.
Mm. Love
And
that.
she was, yeah, I love it. And she describes she describes health and justice, right?
Mhm.
Health and justice go hand in hand. You can't have health without justice.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what is justice? Going back to Ma'at, right?
Mhm.
Ma'at, that truth,
Mhm.
justice,
Mhm.
balance, reciprocity,
Mhm.
right? So if we're people who call ourselves healers or we're in the realm of practicing the healing arts,
Mhm.
is it okay for us to remain silent in the face of injustice?
Mhm.
And that's a tough one, and that's something for people to think about and everybody to really come to their own conclusion on, because we're doing this work. We're doing our best to raise our vibration. Hopefully that'll help other people to raise their vibration. But then when we see injustice, it's like, oh, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I gotta pay these bills. Or is it like,
Mhm.
do we have a role to play in restoring balance, restoring ma'at, restoring justice? Because how can we call ourselves healers or practitioners of the healing arts if it's not being balanced with justice?
Mm, mm, mm. Right, right, right. You know, it's one of those things. You're in a situation and you kind of like judge it, and like we spoke earlier too. Like some of these things, they come from ancestral. So,
Right.
but I've spoken up plenty of times. And I'm glad I did, bro. I'm really glad I did. Because I know what it feels like not to speak up too.
Mm,
We all know what that is. We all
right.
know, bro. We all know. Then you go, man, why didn't I say something, man? I
Right.
can't believe it. Like you rage and then you're kicking yourself in the ass
Eat
all
you
the way
up.
down the block twice on Sundays. Come
Mhm.
on. You're talking to yourself. Like, let's go, man. You quiet for, bro. Speak up.
Right.
Well, so but when you do speak up, man, it's quite powerful. I can remember when I was living in Brooklyn in the subway station. Here's the subway is crowded. There's lots of people, and here's one brother speaking out. Oh, this and that. He got into the Jesus thing, and he started speaking whatever, and then one guy in the
Mhm.
crowd said, shut up," and I went, "No, let him speak."
Right.
Right away, and everybody went, "Oh shit,
Right.
yeah, he's right. Yes, yeah, let him
Oh,
speak. Whatever." I didn't agree with half the shit he was saying or nothing,
uh-huh.
but that has nothing to do with it.
And you see what you just said? You didn't agree with half of what he said, but you still understood that he needs to speak and be able to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many of us can do that? People
Mm.
say shit I don't agree with every day, but it's like I wouldn't shut them up for the world.
Right,
Let them
right.
speak.
Let them speak. They have the right to speak, and that's fine. That's fine.
And I'm glad you said that because I think I told you the other day. I saw this thing. They called it Candace Owens versus 20 feminists.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so interesting watching that, right? Because people have a lot to say about Candace Owens. But
Mm-hmm.
how many of us would put ourselves in a position to have our views challenged by people who we might consider to be in opposition to us, right? And so she sat there, and the way they did this, you have 20 young ladies sitting around Candace. Actually, there was a couple of men in there too. There's 20 of these folks sitting around Candace, and then if the person that represents them, right? Because it's one Candace and 20 of them. If they
Mm-hmm.
feel like this person is going off the marker or isn't articulating themselves well enough, then they getting flagged off. They get a red flag and enough red flags, and they get taken out. Right. Next person
Mm-hmm.
comes up, and listening to them speak, I realized that to me, it seemed like a lot of them spend a lot of time speaking with people who agree with them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
haven't had their truth challenged. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for the process for growth for people. It's okay to have your truth challenged. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
someone believes something so firmly and strongly, let them speak that truth. Because you know what? The more they talk to someone who doesn't agree with them, the more they may realize that they're talking a bunch of bullshit.
That's right. True that. True that. True that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you saw a lot of that in that forum where you
Okay.
saw these young ladies talk. There was a few people who articulated themselves well, but you could
Mhm.
see there's a lot of emotion involved in it, and it's not a lot of to me, it wasn't a lot of intellect. There was a lot of like, okay, we're gonna have this emotional foundation, and then we're gonna pile a bunch of crap on top of it, and then we're gonna send you out into the world. And if anyone doesn't agree with you, you beat them in the head with the emotional stuff, and you shut them up and don't let them speak intellectually.
Mm, mm, mm.
And that's the environment that was created. So with that, it to me, it seemed like we need more of that.
Right. Mhm.
People having their viewpoints challenged in a forum where they can, where okay, you say your part, I say my part, but then we're listening to the other side too,
Right.
critically
Right.
thinking and critically listening, radically listening to what the other person is saying. Because it's
Yeah.
not always about what's being said, it's also about what's not being said,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah. For sure.
Silence is just as important in the conversation.
Right. 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 That's true. That's true. We have these men retreats, and
Mm,
in these circles by the fire, brothers open up, and it could get quite intense too. It can. Is a deep brother. Shout out to Reggie, man. He finished his book, and like he's on a very high level, bro. Like but
man.
somebody came out from the men and said, "Hey, you know what? All this stuff, but you come off like condescending." You
Mm,
see, he let him know, and then the other brother was like, "Yeah, well, I'm just speaking my truth. This is how I see the world as I see it. I've come to some truths, and I'm speaking them as facts. I'm not speaking them as my opinion or something like that. Like, so
mm,
so you're taking it like that. So it gets a bit hot, but I think it's
right,
necessary. Am I my brother's keeper? Yeah, I think we are. Yeah,
right,
I say yes. I say
right,
yes. I say
right.
yes.
Because what is the result of not speaking one's truth? What does
Mhm.
it do to the body and the energy field?
Mm.
And on a collective level, what does it do to the collective body and the collective energy field when people feel that they can't speak their truth?
Right. Yeah. And how about for those who have children too? You're out. The kids are like sponges, man. They're watching everything you say or don't say.
Right. I know daddy's upset, but he's not okay.
Right.
So he gonna go into the other room
Right. Right.
and right? He looks
Yeah.
pissed,
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's true. It's true. That's why I do my best to apologize to my children, whenever I feel that, I didn't speak up, or I didn't say, or maybe when I did speak, I was rude, I was disrespectful, and it was harsh tone, and that energy
Mm,
came off like that. Yeah, why not? And I might do it again, like later on that night again, but hey, I'll apologize again. And sometimes they get me like, man, you said that yesterday. Yeah, I know. So
and
do you. So do you. Like,
see,
we're growing, we're learning. You know.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
I recognize my mistakes, and yeah, let's say it. Let's say it what it is.
Yeah, because now that's expanding their thinking and that's expanding their emotional intelligence.
Mhm,
That
mhm,
whole
mhm.
children are to be seen and not heard, and that
Right,
that comes with a lot because then you're also not explaining to the children why this or that.
right. Yeah,
Quiet and
yeah,
go to your room. Like
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
know, maybe mom and dad are having an argument, or maybe they're talking about some serious grown folks stuff,
Mhm,
and
mhm, mhm,
you over here trying to get their attention isn't helping them out. But now you
mhm,
just shut up and go to your room.
mhm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? With no
right.
context.
Yeah,
What you're
yeah.
doing, you're giving your children context.
Mhm. And then you said earlier, looking at dad. It's quiet. He went to his room.
Right. Oh, full circle.
Right? You see? You see? You see? Yeah,
Wow.
right. Yep, yep, yeah. It's like
Dad's just
that.
a
It's
child
like
that
that.
grew up,
That's all. And he's
child
still
that
a
got
he's still a
big.
kid. Yeah, and he's got to work with those things. That's why we do men's
Mhm.
work too, because I feel a strong, calling for that. To help
Yeah.
men
Did you
speak,
just freeze on me,
speak.
brother?
No, I'm still here. I'm still here. You're getting a little frozen too. Maybe it's the connection is a little
Right.
bad, but I'm
Right.
still here.
Okay, I'm here.
But
I'm here.
but yeah, it's a bit of that. Letting people know. You don't got to walk around like that, man. Speak up, speak your truth, bro. Express yourself. How
Right.
does that expression look, Cameron? I don't know. Write a book, start a podcast, or I don't know, work with kids, or go, to a homeless shelter, or, I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
How are
Right.
you doing in your job? Speak up, ask for a raise, go get another job, man.
Mm.
They're not going to give you nothing, bro. Let's go. Speak up. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right.
You see, if if
Mm.
if you don't say nothing, there won't be nothing. You know.
Right.
But let's speak up, or move on. Do something about it. That's it. Our voice has power. Our words have power. We're creating our reality. If you read the masters, just read, man. Read. You'll
Just read.
see.
That's what you said. Just read.
That's it. Just read. They'll tell
Yeah.
you. They'll tell you. You're speaking into existence everything. That's why they say, in the beginning was the word, and the word was God.
Right.
Right? And he said, "Let there be light." Those are words. Those are words. And there was light. See?
Right.
So that's what we're doing. Sometimes we think like, "Wow, man, I'm in a bad situation." Yeah, maybe you put yourself there. And you think like, "Well,
Mm.
how could I have? I didn't tell them to do that to me." Yeah, but somewhere along the way, as you were coming along in life, you've done and made a number of decisions, and that's why you're there, and it has opened you up to some of that to come in.
Right. What type of internal dialogue are you having with yourself?
Yeah,
How about
right.
that? People out there hexing themselves every day and don't even
Every
realize
day.
it.
Oh my God. Like we get something like about 50,000 thoughts a day, bro. But you have to realize we are not our thoughts. Thoughts are just thoughts. That's not who we are.
Right.
They're just thoughts. Look at them like clouds moving in the sky, you know.
Right.
Read the autobiography of a yogi, like read
Mm.
books, man. Read. Read.
Right. Because it puts things into better perspective. Always puts things into better perspective.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It opens you up, things that you didn't know before. I usually say books are like windows. You get to open it up and look around, and
Mm.
the other one I like to say too is about, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Why? Because there's a book on it.
Right.
In
Right.
fact, the book tells you how to use a wheel too.
Right.
You know,
Right. Yep.
that's
Yep.
it. Learn, take from other people. It's like you're an apprentice and you're learning about painting. You don't really know how to paint. Learn from people who painting, all the masters, Rembrandt, all of them. They were all
Right.
students. They're all students. Be a student. Be a student of life, man.
Thank
That's
you.
it. That's it. That's why
for-
God gave us one mouth but two ears, so we can listen twice as hard.
Right. 2 ears, 2 eyes, so that we can see and observe.
That's right. That's right. Right. But only the one mouth. That's it. Just the one.
Right.
The one. Choose it carefully. So I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank
Yep.
you so much, man. I appreciate you and your time. I appreciate everybody tapping into. I see you. I see you on the Instagram, and all that, and the YouTube channel, and Facebook, and also on the Wake Up Radio.
The Wake Up Radio.
That's right. Thank you, Cindy Ashby, for providing this platform for us.
Yep.
Big time. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's keep an eye on the throat, right? The throat chakra, right?
Hmm.
Do you know the color of the throat chakra?
Blue.
That's right. You see, they say that people who their bedroom, the walls are all painted blue and the sheets are blue, they have a hard time speaking up because it
Mm.
because it's the color. It's too much. It's too much.
Mm.
So it prevents them from speaking up. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah, we think about more vibrant colors, green and stuff like that, and yellows, and flow. Be in the flow. Be in the flow. Keep your words impeccable, right?
Right.
That's
It's one of the
Dom,
four agreements.
Full agreement, Don Miguel Ruiz. It's the first one. Keep your words impeccable.
Right.
That's it. If you don't have nothing good to say about somebody, don't say anything at all,
Including yourself.
including yourself. That's it. Yeah, watch the self talk, family. Watch the. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm a jerk.
Mm,
No, never
mm.
that. No,
Oh,
oof, never,
oh,
never that, bro. I never say that.
oh.
Nope. If I don't say, if I'm not silent, I don't say something. What I do say is I'm learning.
Mm,
That's it. I'm learning. This is the process. It's a process.
right.
That's all. I learned. I learned. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Keep
And it's
going.
okay to say that, folks.
That's right. That's some of the best things. The best things that you can hear from anybody in the world might be just coming from yourself.
Ooh. Mm,
No. Mm-hmm. 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 So I
yeah.
think we should be careful, with those things. Keep them in mind, you know, move in this realm and, watch your words and put your words down. I journal often too.
Right.
you know, put
Right.
them down. We have to do that.
And one thing I thought about earlier, I'll be brief with it, but people
Mm-hmm.
who freestyle, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Freestyle rap. And you
Mm-hmm.
can that right there is some soul stuff because you can really see what's in somebody's soul and what's in somebody's heart because it's going straight from heart to mouth, straight from
Mm.
heart to tongue and out, right?
Right. Straight. No, no, not to the dome. No, nothing thinking, just out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that right there, it's like I feel like people should spend more time freestyling, even if it's just to themselves, even if it's just in their mind, because then you get to really see what's in your heart.
Mm. For sure, for sure. And usually when I speak to people too, I try to watch what I say, and I always try to give a good word because I know words have power, you know. And
Right.
I usually tell people, brothers, and sisters too. I tell them you're doing better than you think
Mm,
because I know that they don't hear that. No, nobody has said that to them.
right.
They might
Right.
say many things. Yeah, you're all right, man. Go ahead, go for it. But you're doing better than you think. That's a great one,
Yeah.
and the other one I love is feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Mm,
I tell my kids that all the time, it's all right. I'm afraid. I tell them it's okay to be afraid. It's all right. It's okay, but do it anyway. Go,
mm.
jump, jump, jump.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
man.
beautiful.
Things like that, you know. So, thank you so much for your time, brother. Let's just
Thank
leave it
you.
at that. If you stood to the end of the program right here, man, we're coming up on the men's retreat. We want to give you 10% off that ticket right there for the men's retreat. We want to do that right there because we're still working on the Purple Sage. We're looking for the dates still, but stick around on the podcast here, man. We're always giving free stuff away, discounts and things of that nature. But if you're interested in the men's retreat, just hit me up. You could find me on all the social media platforms. We're usually active on Instagram. It's OMZIEL Healing. um but you could always text me too. My number is 347-465-4954. And yeah, if you hear me and you're thinking like, hey man, I want to know more about that men's retreat. I need that, or I have a loved one that I know that can use that. Let us know, man. It's quite affordable and it's super, super powerful, bro. It's transformative, bro. Just go have a good time. Yeah, you're gonna do that too, but it's life changing, man. Yeah. So there we
That's
have
what's
it.
up. That's what's up. Thank you, brother, for that.
Of course, putting in that work, bro. Be
Mm,
about it. Don't
yep.
just talk about it.
Right.
Be about it. There you go, family.
Big salute.
Yep. Peace and love. Thank you. Peace.